Hmm. Let's see. Okay, I think I am on and right on time. I am greeting you on behalf of Agape Renaissance Spiritual Center. And I want to welcome you, each of you, to today and our talk for today. I'm so honored to have you with me on this particular day, this last Sunday of January. And it is good to be here and to be in the midst of you. My name is Reverend Sandra Bishop, and proud minister, pastor of Agape Renaissance Center. And a little bit about Agape. Agape Renaissance Center's purpose is to establish an atmosphere that encourages each person to consciously and persistently build a more abundant life, exhibit unconditional love in every aspect of that life, and to love God without reservation. And so, to that end, we share with you principles and teachings from New Thought that help you along those paths, because one of the things that we are doing is making sure that we can experience the abundant life, the unconditional love that is promised to us, all of those things, that we can experience them right here and right now. So to that end, we do a number of things. We share affirmations as well as a daily reading, and then I give my talk. I know that many of you are probably used to hearing services open up with music and all of those things, but right here we just try to distill it down to just what is necessary, and then send you on your way. I know that many people are preparing for some of the football games and different things that are going on. Whatever you may be doing or however you may spend your Sunday, I am so honored to have you here with me on this day. So like usual, I pulled out one of our affirmation cards from off of my trusty deck, and I will share these. I'll share them twice. Once just, to read through it, and then the second time if you choose to share with me or to say it as well. Affirmations are a way of changing your thinking to go in alignment with where you desire to go in your particular affairs. It is as if we are imprinting on our consciousness the ideas that we want to hold. It's setting an intention for your life. And so we are taking this from 2017. These were lovingly prepared by our own Rosemary Capel. And so I get a chance to share this with you today. So here we go. The first one. I think only thoughts that create and fulfill the best in me. I think only thoughts that create and fulfill the best in me. Number 2, my mind dwells only on thoughts that create harmony, balance, and enthusiasm. I tell you, some of us guard our minds just like we would anything else, like those Progressive commercials. We are on guard to make sure that nothing that we don't want to take up root enters into our consciousness. So here this is again for the second time. My mind dwells only on thoughts that create harmony, balance, and enthusiasm. Here's the next one. I am full of absolute assurance in the best possible outcome in everything I do. Yes, yes, yes. Look, say that with conviction, right? I am full of absolute assurance in the best possible outcome in everything I do. And here's another. Who is the most awesome person I know? Me! And you would be saying that for yourself, right? You would be saying that to yourself. When I ask who is the most awesome person you know, you should be able to say without reservation that you are. I am. Whoever it is that is speaking, I am. And it says, I embody these words of truth and all is well. Amen and amen to that. I sometimes, it tickles me to read affirmations, especially affirmations that have been prepared by somebody else. When we are looking for affirmations, usually we are just saying the things that apply to us, and not necessarily something that somebody else might think that we need. So it's kind of refreshing when I read affirmations that have been chosen by someone else. So to that end, I'm sharing with you out of the daily guides from the Science of Mind magazine for this particular month. And this one says that it is entitled, Say Yes to Life. Say Yes to Life. Now, these have been shared by Reverend Dr. Marilyn Louise Leo, and I've been sharing them all month. This is the last Sunday that she will be sharing this, and next month it will be somebody entirely new. So from this, the first affirmation comes from John 10:10. And it says, I have come that you might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. I have come so that they can have life and that more abundantly. From Out of the Science of Mind book, she uses the quote from Ernest Holmes that says, have enthusiasm, and above all, have a consciousness of love, a radiant feeling flowing through your consciousness at all times. There you go. So let's see what she writes about Say Yes to Life. Passion, enthusiasm. Are these words of the past? Are these values that no longer have meaning? There are people who have passion about a particular subject. Nowadays, they are called activists and reactionaries, words not taken too kindly by many. But these people have values, and they stand for what they believe as they move forward with zeal. We may not necessarily agree with their point of view or their way of showing their passion, but passion is there. I personally prefer to be an activist in consciousness by remaining in mind optimism and loving attitude. In this way, we activate a power of love that, in the end, brings about a more cohesive response in the multitudes. If an idea comes to mind, do you just set it aside, or do you look at the idea and consider the possibility that creative mind that resides within you place this thought seed for your consideration? Do you throw it aside, or do you ponder on the possibilities of a new or different creation that is about to flower to fruition? Mull over it, she says. Look at the possibility, and something useful for you or for others is waiting for your unique expression. Let that freedom of passion flow. Live with passion, with enthusiasm, with love for life. For life is God's gift to us. It is time for us to live it more abundantly, more confidently, more fervently, more eagerly. I think if we did this, we would have more energy and vitality, healthier bodies, and greater peace of mind. Let us say yes to life. And the affirmation that she puts with this is today every action I take is God action and is filled with new passion for life. Oh, that's so good. It's so good because it lines up so wonderfully with what I wanted to talk to you about today. It's really interesting when things like this coincide with one another. This idea of watching and being a student of your own consciousness and your own awareness. Um, I'm so honored to share with you today because one of the things that I know is that many of us were taught or learned about this idea of God as children. As a matter of fact, this awareness of the divine presence, however you want to call it, is something that has been passed down generationally. And depending upon where your parents or your grandparents were from, we were always told to lean to God's unchanging hand, lean not to your own understanding, that if we did what was right, that in the end somehow we would be rewarded. And so what we had was this sense of to our own awareness, this idea about what God wanted for us, or that there was an expectation for our life, that we were to do good, to be our brother's keeper, to love our fellow man, to turn the other cheek, and have some level of forgiveness within our soul. We were given the 10 Commandments, and we were taught about Jesus and Jesus' sacrifice. And for so many of us, that became a guiding principle in our lives for a very long time. But then what we saw is that there was this thing that began to happen where we, even though we tried to follow the rules, we saw people that seemed to be getting ahead of us, that not only did not follow the rules, but totally disregarded and disrespected the rules themselves. We would see what we thought was, just straight out people who seemed to not take the words that we were taught seriously. And a lot of times what you see is that when that happens for so many people, what they do, instead of leaning in towards God and spirit, they've turned and gone the other way. But still within us, in spite of what we've seen, there is this resonant place that understands that it is not just about us just as individuals, but rather we belong to a greater community. I'm not going to call this a community of believers, but rather that we have a shared interest, a shared identity. When we look at one another, we see the same hopes and dreams in ourselves as we see in others that are around us. And so over periods of time, years after years, we have questioned. If you are anything like the average person, you have even questioned what it was that you've heard and tried to measure that up against your experience, because that's what we do. And one of the things that I have noticed is that we are often faced with the questions, just like in the story of the prodigal son. We have seen biblical stories that talk about whether it's Cain and Abel, or Esau stealing his brother's blessings, or where Jacob was thrown into a pit and left for dead. We've seen over and over again unrighteous things that have happened that we have thought, well, if God is real, right? If this thing called God is real, how is it that these things unfold to what it seems like is, people who don't deserve the treatment that they've received? But sometimes, like in the story of the prodigal son, we need to back up a little bit and understand that there is more at play than just what is apparent on the surface. In the story of the prodigal son, for example, there was the son who went to his father and said to him, "Can you give me my inheritance now? Because I want to be off and, be about my business." It's not his exact words, but in essence, that was exactly what he did. He asked for his inheritance, and he took the money and he went, as the story says, to a far country. And as he was there, he lost all of the money that he had been given to riotous living, right? Whether he was, partying or, spending it on alcohol or, on women or whatever it was. He lost his fortune. And then it said that there was a famine that came over the land. And what he found is that he was reduced to now, he found a job tending somebody's pig pen. And he found himself in this position. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, things are going on business as usual. The father is doing what the father has always done, as well as the other son. His other son was out working when he got word of, or when he headed back home on that particular day and found that his brother had returned. The son that had always been there, who had followed the rules, who had done what his father asked, he comes back to find that when he returned back home, the father was preparing a celebration, having a celebration for the son who had taken his portion of his inheritance and gone off and wasted it all. And this son was upset. He doesn't even want to go into this party. He's saying to his father, "I've done everything you've asked. I've followed the rules. I've been busting my butt right here. And you don't even bother about not killing a fatted calf. You didn't kill a goat for me. You have done absolutely nothing for me." And so the son was understandably upset. And you and I, a lot of times, feel the same way. We look around and we see that other people, we've been good. We've been following the rules. We've been doing just what is told. Now, I'm not putting myself in that thing because I have a hard time following rules. But so many times we see and we look around and we see the people who have not been following the rules, and they seem to have this wonderful life going on, this wonderful party going on. And the question becomes like, well, I don't understand how this is supposed to work. If we are to follow the rules and we get no further, or as a matter of fact, it seems like we don't get as far as those who have broken them. You guys, we sit here at the end of January, again, witnessing some atrocities, right? Whether we are talking about what just happened with Tyree, or Trayvon, or Tamir, or George Floyd, or Fernando. There seems to be this thing where it doesn't matter whether or not you are doing right or not. Life sometimes seems to fall apart. Life seems to crack open. And there might be this part of us that look at this and ask questions about, what could they have been doing wrong that have landed them in the situations they're in. And never once do we think to ourselves that maybe it wasn't that they did anything wrong. Maybe that there is a higher order to this universe that we are not privy to. And so as we ponder the question, even of the son that stayed, as we question the what happens to the people who are who are following all the rules, the people that are doing good. As we ponder those questions, do you ever ask yourself, are the rules really what God wants for me to do? I mean, if you step back for a second and you think about, especially about what New Thought is. New Thought is this idea that we are at the effect of our thinking. That means that what we think about, we bring about. That our thoughts create. Our thoughts are powerfully creative. And if we are really like narrowing down in on this, right? When we are thinking about this thing of our thoughts being powerfully created, that as a man thinketh, so is he. We're thinking about that in terms of what we've been doing. But the question becomes, are you truly at the effect of your thoughts? Or are these the thoughts that have been given to you? This idea about what's good or what's bad. I mean, when you consider that God has used people who have done what we might, in our own estimation, view as terribly bad, God has used those people to make transformations in the minds and lives of those who sat back and judged them. For example, Saul, right? He was a persecutor of Christians. He went out and not only was he persecuting and killing Christians, he was doing all kinds of things that would seem to be against the law. And yet God used him anyway. God caused, on the road to Damascus, he had a transformation in his thinking. As a matter of fact, he was blinded, had to get down, stopped in his very tracks. We've seen this happen over and over again. This moment of transformation where someone was doing wrong, but then all of a sudden they had an experience, and that experience showed them the truth. And they decided in that moment that they needed to begin to be transformed by a renewing of their thoughts and their minds. But as long as we think that we are in the right, those transformative moments may fall by the wayside because we can't even see that God might be trying to use us or have a higher or better purpose for us. I don't know about you, but sometimes I have to sit back and question even what I've been told was right. Because in my mind, I'm saying to myself, if this is right, if somebody else is trying to tell me what's right, does God, this God that we believe in, not have the ability to give me the message that is correct for me and my life? I mean, if you think about it, are you only concerned with what you've been told to be right and true? Or have you found a place within you that God speaks to you? I mean, this is something that, that I think deserves time and attention. I talk constantly about meditation and what meditation brings and the insights that come for me. I feel as if sometimes I get these divine revelations that are just so amazing and so big. But if you never sit and ponder for yourself, if we are always about the business of like a caterpillar or something else that simply follows after something that is before them. You guys, you've heard about a caterpillar, that the caterpillars that will follow in a rink, and because they never break circle or never go outside of that, they follow one after another, not ever thinking that maybe if I don't break loose from this chain, I might starve. Or maybe if I don't find another way, maybe what'll happen is I work against myself. And so sometimes what we have to do is to allow a new thought to come in. That's one of the reasons why this amazing teaching is called New Thought, because it makes room for the possibility that what we thought was true, just merely following the rules, may not be the truth. God may be trying to use you for something bigger and something higher. But if all we're concerned about is what somebody else is doing, what somebody else is saying, what somebody else's approval, then we never get to a point where you are told to know thyself, to love yourself, to be able to listen to the still small voice that is within you. And so often we are so busy, caught up trying to follow somebody else, trying to get the approval of somebody else, doing what somebody else is doing, that we miss out that God is speaking to you. It's you, it's you, it's you. You know, I mean, that the song says, it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. And when I recognize that it's me that's standing there, then I allow myself to have a transformative moment. Because what may have worked before, what may have worked in the past, does not necessarily work today. If you think about or ponder some of the things that have happened in the past, you might see all types of things that have happened that are no longer acceptable today. There is when we talk about the culture of things that are unfolding, you guys, it is so many of us get tricked by what do I want to say? Get caught up in this what we call race conscious thinking. The masses, the way that the masses are thinking about things. And so what we're doing is when we're doing that, we're looking outward for our answer, rather than looking and trusting that the same God that spoke to Moses, or the same God that speaks to Jesus, or that spoke to Paul, or that gave all of these experiences, is the very same God that is possible to talk to you today. That you don't have to go someplace else looking for that connectedness, that it is right here and right now. And that these messages that somebody else may have received. You know, at one time, the story of when Jesus, the crowd was accusing this woman of being caught in the act of adultery. And by and large, they thought they were in the right for wanting to stone her to death. And so as they approached Jesus, they were looking to say, hey, are you going to join us in this? She was caught in the very act, is what they were saying. And the one time that Jesus was mentioned writing, it says he wrote there on the ground, in the sand, in the dirt, right there. And he says to them, he says, let him who is without sin cast the first stone. And it says that, without looking up, after a while, he looks up and he asks the woman, where are your accusers? At a certain point, we have to realize that there is a transformation that takes place. And without the openness to the transformation, how do we ever get to this place of growth in ourselves and other people? How do we get there? And so it becomes this ability, this thing about being able to listen to guidance right where you are, regardless of what somebody else comes to tell you. How do we then run it by our own understanding or our own convictions? What's in our hearts? You guys, if you are If you are, and if anybody was ever able to hear the voice of God, it is you being able to hear that same voice today. And sometimes what we have to do is measure it on the scale. What would love say do? What is it that is called of me here? What is it that is being requested? So whether you're on your own road to Damascus or you're in a pig pen somewhere, going through thinking about even the servants at my Father's house are eating better than I'm eating. Wherever, if you are on the mountaintop and you're having a Moses moment or an experience, it's allowing the transformation to happen without seeking the sameness that you've always done. Fear will keep you from growth. Fear will cause you to want to shrink back, to say no to the very things that show up. Fear will do that to you over and over again. But you were not given a spirit of fear, remember? But rather one of faith. The song, the wonderful song, I want to call the name of the song, Amazing Grace. It said was written by a white captain of a slave ship. And all of a sudden he has this moment where he was saying, I was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I see. You guys, we have these moments, these transformative moments that come to us. And they're not moments that go around and try to say, where we're supposed to say, did you see that? Did you hear that? Trying to build consensus around the experience that we're having. But rather it is for us and us alone. And to allow God to work with you, to transform your heart, to transform your mind, to transform your thinking in that moment. And that causes you to say, you know what? I may have done that, but now I'm done with that. And now I can move forward. You guys, there is something that is happening through you. If it were not, you would not be listening to this right now. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't land on you in any particular type of way. There is something that is happening, and it is happening through you. It's a personal experience. God is seeking to be God in your life, in your experience, speaking to your heart, is guiding you. It's not about looking to this person, looking to that person, trying to hear, trying to build consensus, trying to go back and verify this up against something else. It's speaking directly to you. There is something for you to do that only you can do. And so this idea of allowing yourself to be renewed, to be transformed in your thinking, right in the midst of that is what each and every one of us is called to do. I'm not supposed to be like somebody else. I wasn't given, a ministry so I can mimic other people. I wasn't given a ministry so I could tell you what makes you feel good all the time. I wasn't given the voice that I have so that I could just, go around and try to, cause you to stay small or to go back to sleep. No, maybe my purpose, my role right here in this moment is to stir something up in you so that you see in yourself the possibility of having that transformation, to come to yourself and to say, self, it's time for me to be about the business for which I was born. Because each and every one of us came here with a purpose and plan for our lives. I don't know what yours is, but I know that I must walk in my own. I know that I have to do what I'm guided to do. And so if it is speaking up or speaking out, if it's encouraging, if it is bearing witness to something, if it is telling you exactly how this works, that there is a power within you for good that you can use. And that if you have an idea or if you have a thought within you, you also have the ability to carry it out. We are not giving gifts without the wherewithal to make those gifts come into fruition. You don't have to be the same person that you were yesterday. You don't have to do the same thing that you've always done. You can be brand new. And we see over and over and over again, whether we're talking about scripture or whether we're talking about in everyday life, we see over and over again that people make transformations with their lives. They decide something different and then they walk in another direction. You were going left, but now going right. Whatever that may mean for you. If it is something that is coming up in you, that means that it is there for you to do. You guys, times change, people change, things change. And when you see a shift happening, when you see that shift coming your way, it's being able to have the courage to say yes to it. It's interesting because a lot of times we don't listen to things. I remember when I first started having my own conversations with God, I'd ask these questions, and I remember one time having this conversation and I was saying, God, I don't, is this you? And the question came back, well, who else would it be? And I said, well, you sound a lot like me. To which the response came, well, who would you prefer me sound like? Right? Maybe, Charlton Heston or James Earl Jones or President Obama? Who better to sound like than your own voice? I mean, we try to make it so otherworldly, so out there. But maybe as simple as listening to the voice that has always been present right where you are. There is no need to go out searching for something else. Only the need to get clarity right where you are. Sometimes what we do is we keep on traveling on the same road, and then something comes along, just like when Saul, when on that road and he made that conversion, something that then suddenly something knocks you on your butt because you haven't been able to listen when it came by as a breeze that blew by you, or when it came in the note you received in the mail, or when you heard it on the radio, and you keep thinking like, man, I keep hearing this over and over again, but you can't listen then. And then something has to come along that knocks you right off your feet in order to show you where it is that you needed to go. It's the story of Jonah and him saying, you know what, I'm not going to Namibia. I don't want to go there. And so then a storm comes along and starts causing all of this stuff on the boat, and the boat is tossing and turning, and they're trying to figure out who it is. And so it says that they threw the bones and found out that it was him, and they tossed him over the side. He was like, it's me. It was me. I know. It's me. And we kick you out of the boat, right? Only to get swallowed up and then get transported to where he was supposed to go in the first place so that he can do what he was told in the first place. Don't wait. Don't wait for something to have to force you to make a decision for your life, for yourself. But rather, why don't you make a decision that, what do people say? For me and my house, I'm going to listen to the Lord. I'm going to listen to what it is that is being laid upon my heart. You guys, we don't have to follow what has always been done. We don't have to walk in the steps that have already been laid. We don't have to even hold to this idea about what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. but be receptive to that still small voice that is within. Because sometimes you'll find yourself in those moments where you may be persecuting or bullying or doing something, that those moments teach you what you need to learn for the next stage of your journey, for the rest of your journey. I'm not telling you to go out and do anything in particular, but learn how to listen, slowly listen to that still small voice that is always speaking to you. And when you do, I tell you, I declare that something new and amazing will happen for you. I know that God is trying to tell you something, because I wouldn't have even had these words had it not been that they were supposed to reach your ears. Because there is something that you are supposed to do. Yes, you can be brand new. Just because you didn't do it yesterday doesn't mean that you can't do it today. And it doesn't dictate your tomorrows. You can be, as long as you have life in your body, you have permission to live. To live out your truth, to live out your love, to live out of your own heart and mind. You have permission to live. Oh my gosh, y'all. I thank you for this, because I needed to hear this. Even if you thought you didn't, I needed to hear this. So I thank you for being here. I thank you for the ways in which this comes through. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you for the ways that you continue to support this ministry. I thank you. I bless you. Knowing that God has an amazing, amazing plan just for you. Don't go around trying to figure out whether or not it says it someplace else. It's already written in your heart, and you know it. You know it. So with that, I am just blessing you and knowing all is working together for your highest and best good. Right here and right now, I'm trusting that what was sent out is received in a way that it is meant to be received. And that which is not falls away just as quickly as it came. So I thank you for this opportunity. You guys, I will have all the information about Agape Renaissance. We appreciate your support. All of that information will be shared in the notes. And I hope to see you here. I'm here every Sunday at 1 o'clock. I hope to see you here again. Like or subscribe or comment, any of those, so you'll know when I'm on again. I appreciate your presence and I bless you. So here I'm speaking my word. The light of God surrounds you. The power of God protects you. The presence of God watches over you. Wherever you are, God is, and all is well. Be blessed and have an amazing Sunday. Take care. Thank you for being here.